The year was 1985. On the positive side of things, Wayne Gretzky scored his 400th career goal in the NHL, Cherry Coke made its debut on store shelves, and Back to the Future went on to become the highest-grossing film of the year. As for the negatives, unprecedented cold weather across the United States damaged 90% of Florida's citrus crops. Billy Martin was fired from the New York Yankees for the fourth time, and the U.S. chose not to join 20 other countries in signing a United Nations treaty outlawing torture. The jury's out on whether it belongs in the pro or con category, but on December 13th, Paramount Pictures released the first feature film to be based on a board game. But Ryan never saw it, until now. This is Movies I Missed, 1985, Episode 10, Clue.
I'm Jesse Munoz.
I'm Ryan Miller.
This is Movies I Missed, 1985, episode number 10. Today we're talking about the film Clue, released December 13th, 1985, the running time of 1 hour and 34 minutes. I want to give a warning that we will be discussing all aspects of this movie. That includes spoilers. Clue is a murder mystery comedy directed by Jonathan Lynn, based on the classic board game. The film brings together 6 strangers, each with a secret, who are invited to a mysterious mansion by a man blackmailing them. When he ends up dead, the guests, along with the butler Wadsworth, and the house staff, must scramble to figure out who the killer is as bodies pile up and suspicions shift.
I'm grateful to you all for disposing of my network of spies and informers. Saved me a lot of trouble. Now there's no evidence against me.
This all has nothing to do with my disappearing nuclear physicist husband or Colonel Mustard's work with the new top-secret fusion bomb.
No. Communism was just a red herring.
But the police will be here any minute. You'll never get away with this, any of you.
Why should the police come? Nobody's called them.
You mean, oh my God, of course.
So why shouldn't we get away with it? We'll stack the bodies in the cellar, lock it, leave quietly one at a time, and forget that any of this ever happened.
And you'll just go on blackmailing us all.
Of course. Why not?
Well, I'll tell you why not.
Good shot, Green. Very good.
Are you a cop?
No, I'm a plant.
A plant? I thought men like you were usually called a fruit.
Very funny. FBI. That phone call from J. Edgar Hoover was for me. I told you I didn't do it.
All right, who done it?
You did. Right.
They all did it. But if you want to know who killed Mr. Body, I did. In the hall. With the revolver.
Quickly, want to plug our website, moviesIMissed.com. Go ahead and check that out. We are on Instagram and YouTube at Movies I Missed Podcast for both Instagram and YouTube, so check those out. We post there, and then subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your shows. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. All right, episode number 10. Here we are with our last movie from 1985 that we're going to be talking about. This is your choice, the classic video game adaptation, Clue.
Video game adaptation.
Sorry. Board game adaptation.
I mean, I did own Clue for the Sega Genesis, so You're sort of right.
Yeah.
But that would have been after this movie came out.
Yeah, this predates the video game version. So what made you want to choose Clue to wrap things up here?
I actually have wanted to see this movie for a while, and I bought it on Blu-ray sometime within the last year. It's not a movie that I like of my own volition was like, ooh, I need to see this for any reason. But I legitimately feel like I have heard this movie talked up by numerous people over the years. Mm-hmm. Like my former coworker, Mike, who still comes into the store every week. I feel like it's come up a couple times over the years and he really has a fondness for it. And like, one of the websites that I buy my like boutique weirdo Blu-rays from, one of the labels on one of these websites within the last year or two put out an entire feature-length documentary about the movie Clue. And then like I think the Blu-ray sold out. There were probably maybe like 2,000 copies, so it's not like there were a million of them or anything, but it just seems like a popular movie that I actually have missed. So Yeah, this was like the first thing that jumped out at me when I looked at the list of movies from 85 I hadn't seen and was like, ooh, I got to put that on the list and finally give it a watch.
I think it has a pretty big cult following. Was it Shout Factory?
Yeah.
Okay, because I actually have that in one of my notes here. December 12th, 2023, Shout Factory released a 4K UHD Blu-ray collector's edition includes new interviews with director Jonathan Lynn and production manager Jeffrey Shervan.
But even in addition to that, so that's like a new 4K Blu-ray release of the movie, but I'll have to find it. But there's a completely separate, what I was mentioning is like someone made a documentary about this film. And
Wow.
I don't think it's on that. It was like its own separate release. Like you had to like Clue enough to buy a separate Blu-ray that's just a documentary about the movie.
Interesting. Crazy.
See if I can find it real fast.
I didn't know much about Clue. I've heard it talked about before. It being based off a board game kind of soured me to it a little bit just because of most properties that are based off of a board game or whatever, even a video game for the most part, are pretty trash. Like you think of like Battleship, which was produced way after this, or if you go towards like the video game stuff like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat back in the day in the early 90s, all that stuff is just, it's not good. What I didn't realize going into this movie is this cast is actually pretty stacked. It's got a pretty stacked cast.
Really quick, the documentary is called Who Done It? The Clue documentary. It came out in 2022, and it's an hour and 48 minutes. And it's got interviews with a bunch of the people you were probably just about to name, like Tim Curry, Colleen Camp, Jeffrey Kramer, Christopher Lloyd, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, there's a whole freaking documentary about this movie.
Interesting.
So people care about Clue.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about, since we started mentioning the cast and the crew. Directed by someone named Jonathan Lynn. I couldn't tell you who he was before this, and I'll probably never be able to tell you who he was after this. But he did direct one of my favorite movies, which is My Cousin Vinny. I've seen that movie a million times. I love it. I think it's hilarious. I've seen it a ton, especially when on TV, when I used to watch just regular television. And for the life of me, could have never, with 1,000 guesses, told you that Jonathan Lynn directed it. Also have Sergeant Bilko, which I remember watching once and thought it was okay. And then The Whole Nine Yards, which I haven't seen.
Seen The Whole Nine Yards, like back when it was new. Don't remember it super fondly. Never seen Sergeant Bilko. And I just saw My Cousin Vinny for the first time, like last year.
Oh, wow.
I just never seen it.
Was that for Triple Threat?
No, I think I just bought it on Blu-ray, like a blind buy during a sale on some website because I've always heard that it's good. Popped it in. Turned out to not quite be what I thought it was going to be, but it is a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love My Cousin Vinny. Got a story by credit for Jonathan Landis. And I think Jonathan Lynn also did the screenplay for the movie.
I watched a little bit of like a special feature on my Blu-ray copy when I watched it. And so apparently the studio, I think it was Deborah Hill, if I'm not mistaken, who produced this or who like brought this idea to the studio. And they had tried like a bunch of different writers and didn't like any of the stories they were coming up with. And then John Landis came on board and he was going to write and direct. And then he actually decided during the writing process to go. He directed Spies Like Us, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he like decided to go do that movie instead. And so Jonathan Lynn was like writing the movie with him, had never directed a movie before, and John Landis convinced the studio to let Jonathan Lynn direct it. So this was his first movie he directed.
As far as directing goes, for his first movie, I'm actually pretty impressed. Like, the movie looks good and it plays well, especially for a comedy doing what it's doing. I wouldn't be able to guess that was a first-time director.
And, it is kind of all one location and everything, but, I mean, it's kind of complex, like, of all the ins and outs and everything. So not the easiest, it's not Clerks or something. It was a little more complicated than that.
Smith, yeah. Let's talk about the cast, because you mentioned some of the cast already. This has got quite a few people. We got Tim Curry as, I think, the lead. He plays the butler, Wadsworth. And then we've got all of the characters from the game. Mrs. Peacock, Mr. White, Professor Plum, Mr. Green, Colonel Mustard, Miss Scarlet. So we'll go through these names and then you can kind of tell me if you have any thoughts on any of them. Eileen Brennan was Mrs. Peacock. She's been in things like The Sting and Jeepers Creepers.
I wrote down Jeepers Creepers just because she plays a tiny part as the cat lady.
Okay.
And I thought it was funny when I saw that on her list. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I know the name Eileen Brennan, could have never picked her out of a lineup. Honestly, couldn't have even told you she was in The Sting, but when I glanced at her credits, I was like, oh, that's a good movie that I know. But yeah, I don't really know her.
All right. We've got Madeline Kahn as Mrs. White from Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and Nixon.
Yeah, sadly, I'll just go ahead and say it. For all the female characters in this movie, it's going to make me sound bad, but I don't really know who the hell they are. Like, she's in, I've seen all those movies, but I don't. And again, Madeline Kahn is a name that, like, if you listed off a bunch of names, I could be like, yeah, she's an actress, but couldn't have told you who she was. And, you'll get there, I'm sure. But Leslie Ann Warren as Miss Scarlet.
Yeah.
Colleen Camp as Yvette. And even, I wrote down a shitload of things she's been in, but like Apocalypse Now, Police Academy 2 and 4, Daryl, Wayne's World, Last Action Hero, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Speed 2, Cruise Control. Yeah. I feel bad, but I don't know who she is.
I didn't recognize her until I looked at who she played in Wayne's World 2. That's a tiny bit part, but she plays Mr. Vanderhoff's like younger wife, and she's kind of like supposed to be like basically like a kind of like gold digger in that movie. But I didn't recognize her from The Clue at all. Like, completely different.
Yeah, I just watched Daryl not too long ago, maybe like a year ago. I had never seen it before. It's kind of an Amblin-y sort of like kid on the run from the government movie from the 80s that just never got as popular as like E.T. or something. But I'm assuming she was the mom, but I don't even really remember her in the movie. So
is this why we're so bad at the Cinematrix game when it comes to actresses?
To actresses. Yeah, probably.
So we play every day.
Every time I play that game and there's an actress and I'm like struggling to think of more than one or two things they've been in, it really makes me look at myself in the mirror and be like, oh, I'm a typical man.
Every day we play Vulture's Cinematrix, which is like a grid game. It's a immaculate grid game. You got 9 guesses. There's 9 spots. They name usually 3 actors and then 3 categories, and you got to mash them up. Today's was, not to date our episode, but Winona Ryder, Colin Firth, and Danielle Kaluuya. Luckily, both of us got all 3 Winona Ryder guesses, but normally, man, when actresses come up, especially when it's 3 actresses, it's like, how many can we get? And this is pointing it out why we're terrible people. All right, here's a name you might know. Christopher Lloyd as Professor Plum.
Yep.
Doc Brown. What else is Christopher Lloyd for you known as? Like, is it just Doc Brown? I know he was like in Taxi.
I mean, that's the big one. Other ones that are like a touchstone for me would be Who Framed Roger Rabbit as the villain.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen other stuff he's in, like, isn't he in Angels in the Outfield? He's like an angel.
The main angel.
Or whatever. Yeah.
He sure is.
And, he pops up in other things here and there, but...
Fester?
Yeah, I mean...
In Addams Family?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Back to the Future would obviously the big one.
Sure. Okay, so as Mr. Green, we've got Michael McKean. What's the big role for you for Michael McKean?
I mean, nowadays it's Better Call Saul.
Yes.
But I mean, he's one of these... He was on SNL back in the day, I think.
Yep.
That was before my time watching the show, but... Like, I really got to know him because he's part of that group of comedy actors who was in all of Christopher Guest's mockumentary movies, like Best in Show, and like, I don't know, remember if he was in Waiting for Guffman. That was the first one, but then like The Wind Rises, or not the Wind Rises. That's the Miyazaki movie. A Mighty Wind, and in those movies. And I haven't watched it in a long time, but like. Big fan of Best in Show. Like, watched that movie over and over back in the day when I got it on DVD.
I've actually never seen it.
It's a funny movie. At least, I mean, it's this thing that I run into a lot these days where I'm like, oh, that movie's great. You got to see it. And then I stop and I think, I haven't watched it in 15 years. It may not be as good as I remember, but I remember loving that movie. Fred Willard and ton of good people in it.
I mean, Michael McKean's career has lasted so long. I think he was on Laverne and Shirley back in the day. Like, the dude's been in so many things. Spinal Tap is a big one for me. This is Spinal Tap I really, really love. So he's been in like everything. But I mean, when someone, I get the same thing as with Bob Odenkirk, right? When you're in Better Call Saul and you show the range that you have, it's like, man, I had no idea that Michael McKean could be so ruthless or so dramatic. Because he's usually playing comedy characters. But Better Call Saul was so good. We got Martin Mull and as Colonel Mustard, Mr. Mom, Cutting Class, Mrs. Doubtfire. Who is he in Mrs. Doubtfire?
Is he the old guy that she like is kind of fake on a date with when it's like the scene where he's having like two meals at the same restaurant, one with the old guy who's like wants to date Miss Doubtfire? No.
I think he might be the guy in the beginning that's recording Robin Williams' voice.
Oh,
as
really?
He's doing, do you remember he's doing like a cartoon? We see him as an actor for a cartoon.
Doing like voiceover
and he's like
work.
a bird. Yeah, he's smoking. I think he might be that guy.
Okay.
Who tells him like you gotta stop. I think I could.
Well,
be
just
wrong.
to prove that it's not just actresses I don't know. I mean, I wrote down Mr. Mom, Cutting Class, and Miss Doubtfire, and I don't remember him in these movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
he was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine as Walter Peralta. So in one episode, who's Walter? That's not his dad, is it? It's not Jake's
well,
dad.
Peralta is Andy's character's last name, right?
Yeah. So maybe I don't think it was his dad though. Maybe a uncle or something. Anyway, he's been in a lot of stuff. Who else we got? Lee Ving as Mr. Body.
Which that's not a real name, right? That's like leaving.
No, there's no way that's real. What's his real name?
Yeah, like even when I saw his name in the credits, I was like, is this like a joke within a joke in the movie? Or like, is this guy's real stage name? Or did his parents just hate him?
Lee James Jude Capolero. Lee James Jude Capolero.
So it was a choice on his part to be like, I'm going to be leaving. People will remember my name then.
Yeah, I think he's a musician or something. So more than an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He's the guy that gets killed right away. He's like I can't remember who. Spoilers.
Mr. Body is his name. He's like
basically he's the body. He's the body of the movie, right? Like gets moved around a bunch. Bill Henderson is the cop. This is a really small role. Jeffrey Kramer is the motorist. We have Kelly Nakira as the cook, and then Howard Hessman is the chief of police or the secret chief of police. He was in WKRP in Cincinnati, head of the class, and then I think in a couple of the Police Academy movies is what I most recognize him from. But
yeah, I didn't really know who he was personally.
Yeah. All right. So Clue. Let's talk about the story of Clue, or what the plot of Clue, or what you even thought about the movie. It's a comedy based off of the board game, and it's hijinks. It's just silly hijinks between. Like it is a real like whodunit, like, you know, Agatha Christie, Glass Onion, sort of like, I guess Knives Out, not Glass Onion.
No, either way, they're both movies.
Right, murder mystery, but done with way more of a wink than those movies, which take themselves way more seriously. They're still fun, but they're more serious. This is obviously a big joke, and everyone is kind of playing it that way. Mm-hmm. And I think it's fun. I think the way that they're playing it is fun and funny, but it's not like a serious like whodunit.
No. Well, the thing is, I'm trying to remember now. The movie is, like I said, very complicated. It's just constantly people running around and who did this and who did that and what order did everything happen in. But like Mr. Body, how and when does he actually die? The lights
it's like
go
right
out,
away. It's
right?
like right away. Yeah. So they go and have dinner. Everyone's been invited to the mansion. They don't know why. And then Mr. Body, as they're coming as they're eating dinner, he like comes into the room, or he's in the other room. They all go, and he explains like, I'm here to blackmail all of you. And then the lights go out and he's dead. And then things kind of kick off from there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I mean, it's weird. Like again, it's complicated. A kind of a lot goes on, but at the same time, it feels like not a lot happens. It's like if you the build, like the mansion that they're in, the ground floor is kind of set up like the board in the board game, where it's like a main hall, and then there's these like 6 or 8 rooms off of it, and it's just constantly like people arguing and then running from room to room, and they'll find something, or there will be a dead body, or it's just kind of a lot of running around, I guess. It's funny because last episode we talked about a romantic drama that's almost 3 hours long. And if you'll recall, I said that, I didn't really know what the movie was going to be, but it was just kind of good enough story and acting that I just kind of sat there and let it happen to me. And I don't remember that movie ever feeling long. This movie is like an hour and a half, and I feel like 20 minutes in, I was just kind of like looking around like, all right, like, what are we doing? Yeah. There's good people in this. Like, even the female actress that like I said, I don't really know, but Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean, these are comedy guys that I like, and they're doing a lot of funny faces and falling down and stuff, but I feel like it just wasn't that compelling to me from a story standpoint.
Well, do you know what my problem is because you mentioned that, and again, we're going to spoil the whole thing, is that none of it matters because there's different endings, right? So I don't know how it was when you watched it, but the ending happens and then it goes, well, that's one way it could have happened, and here's another way, and it kind of rewinds.
Yep. And
has a different ending, and I think was a total of 3 different endings.
Yeah, so that's called the trilogy ending. The Blu-ray copy that I have has an option for either that, or you can choose random ending, and it'll randomly pick one. And when it was originally in theaters, that was part of the thing, is there were 3 different endings and you'd only see one. But then if you saw it, in Washington State where you live, and I saw it here in Maryland, and we were talking about it after the fact, and we got to the ending, one of us would say what happened, and the other might be like, wait, that's not what happened. And the whole idea was supposed to be, oh, you find out through talking to people that there's more than one ending, and that makes you want to go back and see it again. Which I think
it didn't work. That didn't work.
I think it's a fun idea, but of course, yeah, since I'm watching it, all these years later, I just want to see all 3 of them. But at the time, ostensibly, when you watch the movie in the theater, you wouldn't know that there's different endings necessarily the first time.
And for me, what I think my problem with the movie overall is that none of it matters if it could be whatever, right? I don't know, all of the motivation, if they all have motivation and they all could do it and it doesn't really matter in the end, then it's you're trying to solve the clue. And one of the things I like about murder mysteries, I really enjoyed Knives Out and Glass Onion, is you can try to figure it out. You're attempting to you're watching some sort of mystery. Can I put the pieces together? And in this, it doesn't really matter because the pieces don't really matter in the end. It could have been this person, or it could have been this person, or it could have been this person, and it doesn't cohese.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, again, it doesn't have a super long runtime, and it feels like 20 minutes of the movie is just the characters recapping everything that happened at the end. For some reason, I thought that was really weird, that it's like Tim Curry running around recapping what you just watched at the end of the movie for so long.
And that's a big portion of the end of the movie.
Yeah, so when you consider, there's 3 different endings and that whole thing happens, it feels like the actual meat of the movie is only an hour long. But
yeah.
But in that amount of time, we find out the most basic things about these people. We find out what each of them is being blackmailed for. But you don't know enough about anyone to think one person's more capable of this than anybody else. And I mean, I'm like you, I wasn't that invested in finding out who did it. And then a bunch of other people start dying, and something about just the tone of the movie being so silly and lighthearted. It's the filmmakers almost didn't even really care what the end game was. So why was I supposed to?
Yeah.
And it wasn't flat out funny enough, and the characters weren't interesting enough to keep me engaged. There were parts that I definitely thought were funny. But on the whole, I don't know. It just felt like someone spun a top and I just watched it spin for an hour. Like it was just like chaos, like a Looney Tunes cartoon for an hour of people just running around and falling down and breaking things. And then all of a sudden the movie was over. And
yeah,
I don't know. Just like I said, I know people who really like this movie, and I guess it just wasn't for me.
Was there of the three endings, was there one that you enjoyed more than the other ones?
Probably the final one where it turns out all but one of them actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because so the first two endings, one of them, it turns out it's Miss Peacock, and the other one, it turns out it's Miss Scarlet. And it's like no one person of the 6 from the board game had any more motive than any of the others. So it really feels like they just picked someone out of a hat. Like, it's not
almost
like when they
the
revealed Miss Scarlet, I was like, oh, of course, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so at least the one where it's like 5 of the 6 people actually were guilty, and the 6th one was an undercover FBI agent the whole time. That was at least a little more fulfilling, a little more interesting than just, you know, pick a name out of a hat and that's the person who did it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best ending.
Yeah.
So Peacock killed the cook in this one. Plum killed Body. Mustard killed the motorist. Scarlet killed the cop. White killed Yvette, and Wadsworth killed the singing telegram girl. And he was like at the end holding everyone at gunpoint, saying he was the real. He's not the butler, but he's the real Body. And Plum killed the real butler.
Uh-huh.
It's also silly, to be honest. All of it is just kind of silly.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I don't have a ton to say about it. I didn't hate the movie. I just found it kind of uninteresting. Like, in the watching of it, I was like, this just isn't my kind of movie. It's just not engaging me. You know, like I said, as short as it is and as much craziness is happening, I was kind of bored.
I really wish it was written to be, because it's written like the video, like the actual board game, where it's all just random, right? You just kind of put you
shuffle the cards and put 3 in the envelope.
Totally, and that's how it is. And it feels like that's what they did for the movie, which, if you're trying to capture the feel of the video game, I think does it, but it doesn't make for a good movie. And I really wish they had written it out to be just a murder mystery, where there was motivation, there was a reason for someone to kill. The multiple endings is such a gimmicky thing that I don't know, it kind of just loses it for me, where it's like, oh, I didn't need to really be paying attention, because it could have just been anyone.
Yeah.
And in fact, the best ending was everyone. And that's just sort of like, I don't know. It just kind of loses a bit for me to end the movie with.
I think the multiple endings is interesting, and it's like one of the things that has made this movie unique over time. And it's one of the things, you know, years ago I heard about and was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Like, I'd like to, you know, watch all the endings when I inevitably see the movie. But it is true that they're a little disappointing when you get there. But yeah, it really, to me, my big holdup is I just wasn't that interested and I wasn't that engaged. And I feel, like I said, the movie kind of plays like a Looney Tunes cartoon, where everyone's just like a silly, ridiculous cartoon character, and there's like pratfalls and things. I do think it would have been better if it had been played more seriously. And the humor was that every now and then something funny happened. Not every character is like doing double takes and spit takes and stuff all the time. I think that would have kept me more interested, would have made the murder feel a little more, I don't know, gripping.
Yeah.
And then also, like, so many people die in the movie. It's like, if we were trying to solve one murder, but it's just like, I think you named 6 different characters who die. I don't know. I just think it could have been done in a way that would have been more entertaining and, you know, captivating to me. And this stylistically wasn't it.
So if it was taking itself more seriously, like an Agatha Christie novel or something, or movie or something, do you think that would be the route to go? Like,
look at like Glass Onion and Knives Out. They are legitimate mysteries, but they also have humor to them. Like, they are funny movies. Like, I would call them comedies before I'd call them thrillers, even though they're about a murder mystery.
I agree with
and
that.
I think that's more the tone that this movie should have been. Like, it could have been a little goofier than like Knives Out, but I still think that in order for the audience, again, I say this as like there seems to be a lot of fans of it, but in my point of view, to keep the audience actually interested in what's going on, there has to be a little more stakes. And it would have been nice to know a little more about the characters so that when the eventual reveal comes, there's, enough reason for one person to have done it over others where it feels like it makes sense instead of, like you said, just like randomly picking names to put in the envelope.
Right. And then making the story fit as opposed to actually having a story to tell. I think you're 100% right, because we don't have enough time to know any of them, to care or figure out or even assess what's going on. Everything happens at like a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
Even the recap is happening at a breakneck pace where it's like, I just watched it and he's recapping it and I'm still kind of having trouble following along to what's going on, because it's so like happens so quick. And even the decisions that they make, they're like, let's split up. And then they all split up and they draw straws and they're going through here. And we don't really get to understand exactly I don't know. It's just everything happens so fast that there's no real time to develop anything. And I wonder if it's because they didn't really believe in it or because they didn't actually have anything. And so it's just, don't give you time to think about it, right? Like, I feel like that's kind of what was going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't imagine reading this script on the page and being like, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
But, like I said, it sounded like from the interview that I watched, they went through multiple different writers and script like angles before they got to this one and liked it. And I'm wondering, what some of those other ideas might have been. And I would wager that a lot of the goofiness of this movie comes from John Landis, because that, he has like a tendency towards silly comedy, and not that that's always bad or anything, but I just feel like in this case, it didn't really suit the subject matter, that it was constantly so cartoony.
It just felt like they're like, oh, we're making a board game movie. It has to be silly. Like we can't take it too seriously. And I wonder if there was like some sort of dictate to be like, it has to be suitable for kids too. And so, but it also, maybe. I don't know, like it kind of pushes the boundaries sexually towards some stuff that it doesn't feel like it's made for kids, even though it's like a PG. I don't know if PG-13 was around yet.
No,
I think it was.
But at the same time, you got to remember that like stuff that was made with kids in mind back in the 80s was not what you'd think of as kid friendly these days. So
that's true. But
there is a lot of talk about like, visiting prostitutes and stuff.
Right. Yeah. What Scarlett is like, runs a whorehouse basically in Washington.
And at least two of the guys, Professor Plum and Colonel Mustard, maybe have frequented the establishment. And I think Yvette is one of the prostitutes.
Right. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk box office for this thing. Budget $15 million. So I don't know. It's so hard to adjust for inflation how much $15 million was in 1985, but a decent amount of money spent on this. It debuted in 1,000 theaters on December 13th and grossed $2 million in sixth place behind Rocky IV, The Jewel of the Nile, Spies Like Us, White Knights, and apparently there's a movie called Santa Claus. I don't know. In 1985. I don't know. It fell 30% in week 2, grossing $1.4 million in 12th place. Christmas weekend, it gained 51% in its third week with $2.1 million in 10th place. And then it grossed $1.6 million in week 4. And then in its final wide weekend, it grossed $1.03 million in 779 theaters with a total box office of $14.6 million. So it didn't make back its budget.
Just barely.
And even then, you never want to just make back your budget because a lot of times those budgets don't include like advertising or other things. That's usually just the film. So for it to not even hit, it would be considered a failure, I think, especially when they have 3 endings. So they're hoping that people go and see the different endings. Didn't work. People weren't going back for it. People went a little bit more during Christmas weekend when it gained 51%, but still that was 10th place. So people were going to the movies, but it's like they're seeing everything else. As far as reviews go, not a well-reviewed movie. I didn't find a ton of reviews on it. It's got 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert said one ending is more than enough, and he gave it 2 out of 4 stars. Kind of agree there. Paul Adanasio from the Washington Post said, was it Colonel Landis in the story conference with the plotting structure, or Professor Lin in his writing room with his sodden wit, or Mr. Goober and Mr. Peters in the executive suite with a high concept? Clue is based on the popular Parker Brothers board game in which the players try to guess, well, who done it and where and with what weapon. You leave it with one conviction: stick with the game.
Yeah,
I feel like this is where like the critics have been just waiting to write stuff like this, right? Like they're just dying to get their little clever little reviews in.
Yeah, and I mean I don't disagree so far.
Sure. Kevin Thomas of the LA Times said it's not the least bit scary or suspenseful, but instead quickly grows tedious. The more you struggle to keep track of constantly multiplying plot developments, the harder it gets to care who did it. 2 out of 5 stars.
I mean, they're all lining up exactly with how I felt in this instance.
All right. Finally, we got Leonard Maltin. What do you think Leonard Maltin's going to land?
I imagine somewhere in the 1.5 to 2 star range.
2.5 stars from Leonard Maltin.
Oh.
Silly comic whodunit based on the popular board game of the same name with all familiar characters. Mrs. Peacock, Colonel Mustard, Miss Scarlet, etc. Gathered for a murderous night in a Victorian mansion, everyone tries very hard, too hard, since the script by first-time feature director Lynn is so slim. Addled-brained Brennan and puckish butler Curry come off best. When it's played theatrically, audiences saw one of 3 alternate endings. Video has all 3 in a row. A total 96 minutes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it sounds like the critics didn't really like it. You said that the Rotten Tomatoes score is 39.
Mm-hmm.
Is that critics or users?
That's critics.
Because I was just curious, because like I said, I feel like I've always heard this movie talked about in a positive light. So I just pulled it up on Letterboxd, and the average rating on Letterboxd is 3.9, which, I mean, that's almost 4 stars.
Yeah.
And then, like, so I follow 48 people on Letterboxd, so not a ton. And I would say between 15 and 20 people I follow have marked this movie as they've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Of the ones who've given it a star rating, there are 2 2s and a 3, a 3.5, and then 4, 5, 4.5, 4, 4.5, 4, 4, 5. Like, more people than not that I follow on here, a lot of whom I know, seem to really like it.
I wish we had one of those people on the show right now, because I want someone to explain what it is that they like. I don't think it's bad. I do not think this is a bad movie, but I don't think it's good either.
Can I say I honestly do think it's a bad movie. I don't think it, I think that the structure is not great. The tone that they're going for doesn't work. And despite the obvious talent of the cast, like, so many people in this get so little to do. They feel like they're each like one trope with about 7 lines apiece throughout the runtime of the thing. It's a comedy. I didn't really find it funny. It was boring to me. Like I said, like 20 minutes in, I was just like, all right, when is something going to happen that I'm going to care about? Personally, I would qualify it as a bad movie in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think it has many redeeming qualities in the act of watching it. Like, to look at it from the outside, oh, the multiple endings sounds fun. I can imagine how a murder mystery comedy could be good. Oh, John Landis was involved. Oh, fucking Doc Brown is in it. And Michael McKean from Better Call Saul. Tim Curry. But yeah, I don't know. All these things did not come together for me.
Yeah. 86% user score on Rotten Tomatoes. I got one more review here.
86 users. That's, I don't know. Like, most people seem to enjoy this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't get it.
Reviewer Tony Sidani said, rewatch this fun flick again. The subtle comedy in this is just great. I love all the performances and black humor. Good times. So
Subtle?
take that, what you will, from reviewer Tony Sidani.
Look, Tony, I love you, bud. No offense, but I could not use the word subtle to describe anything about this movie. This thing is a blunt object. It's the fucking wrench or the pipe.
Yeah, for sure. So not well reviewed and didn't do much in the box office, but does, like you said, have a very big cult following.
Yeah, what about that cultural impact?
I mean, I didn't know really. Okay, so we talked about this, the Shout Factory release with the Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray edition. Yeah, it's definitely been a cult film, but at the time in 1985, I don't think it had much of a cultural impact. And then obviously no awards. There was nobody gave an award for this one.
Yeah.
I do. I said it's not terrible. Tim Curry, I enjoy his frantic nature, even with the I wasn't following along with what his explanations at the end, and it is a bit tedious because it's recapping everything that we just watched in the previous 70 minutes of the movie. I don't know. There's just something kind of captivating about some of his performance. I think some of the performances were fun. I think that's the benefit of the doubt.
I guess when I say I think it's a bad movie, if we're just talking good or bad, thumbs up, thumbs down, the question would be to me, would I recommend this movie to someone? And based on my experience, I wouldn't. And I see that 86% of people like this movie or whatever. And,
right.
And a lot of people in my friends list like it, but my experience with it was such that I was like, I didn't really like that. If somebody was like, oh, what's a good comedy I should check out? Or, hey, I'm a fan of Tim Curry. What would you recommend I watch? I would not say this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the 4-hour TV movie version of It, or I'd say Home Alone 2 or something. But I mean, not that Tim Curry's bad in this. I mean, he's probably one of the highlights, but
Yeah. All right, I got a ton of notes for this one though.
Hit me.
Well, this one we talked about already. Each theater received one of the 3 endings, and some theaters announced which ending the viewer would see. This is all about the endings. The home video, television broadcast, and on-demand streaming services by services like Netflix include all 3 endings shown sequentially, with the first 2 characterized as possible endings, but the third being the only true one. And then all Blu-ray and DVD versions offer viewers an option to watch the endings separately, chosen random by the player, and home entertainment version ending with all 3 of them stitched together. I feel like they put a lot of time into that. According to an interview with the writer and director Jonathan Lynn, after screening on the 20th anniversary of the movie's release, Carrie Fisher was originally cast as Miss Scarlet until she ended up in rehab for drug addiction for 4 days before filming started. Fisher called Lynn and agreed to work furlough, which received approval from her clinicians and the clinic and the producers.
I think you had it, clinicians.
Is that the word? It didn't sound right.
I've never spoken that word aloud before, but I think you got the pronunciation right the first time.
I think I just surprised myself. But was vetoed by the production's insurance company, forcing Lynn to dismiss her from the project. Leslie Ann Warren was cast as a last-minute replacement. Gore Verbinski was developing a new Clue film in 2009, which was eventually dropped by Universal Studios in 2011. Ryan Reynolds optioned a 3-year first look deal in 2018, planning to star in a remake with a script by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. I'm surprised that didn't happen.
Frankly, I can't believe after the, I believe, success of Knives Out, I can't believe that a new version of this wasn't rushed into production.
For sure. Hasbro Entertainment sought new rights deals for Clue in February 2024 and established deals in April 2024 with TriStar Pictures and Sony Pictures Television for new screen adaptations.
Adaptations with a S?
S for movie and TV. Screenwriter Shay Hatton. I didn't know who that was, so I had to look. The writer of John Wick 3 and 4, Army of the Dead, and Rebel Moon. He's basically the guy that works.
The person I'd choose for Clue.
Yeah, he works a lot with Zack Snyder. Has been in talks for the new film script.
Man, how much you want to bet if the guy that wrote John Wick 4 ends up writing Clue, unlike the original, it'll be a 4-hour fucking movie?
Yes, yeah, for sure. The screenplay was adapted from film to stage in 2017 by the original screenwriter, Jonathan Lynn.
I can almost imagine like a live stage version of this working better than the film.
I agree. I super agree. I think this could make a fun play for sure.
Yeah.
With like how like frantic and everything is, and how much better that would work in person. I think it would be way funnier. Yeah. And I think you could have a lot more fun with it too. I think that'd be a good idea.
Just imagining live scenes where like the lights go out, you hear a gunshot and then the lights come back on and someone's laying on the ground. Like that would probably be really cool to see live.
Yeah. Well, a national tour of mystery comedy play launched in 2024, directed by Casey Hushin. So you could maybe go check it out, right? And then finally, all the rooms are in the correct order as they are in the board game. Clockwise, the hall, lounge, dining room, kitchen, ballroom, conservatory, billiards room, library, study, as well as a cellar. So they took time to match it all up.
But then we also see like the basement and the attic.
Yeah.
I thought the bathroom kind of in that little diagonal door in the hall was kind of weird right there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you walk in the front door of this giant mansion and you're standing right next to a person shitting on the other side of the door.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really know much else to say about this one. This one's, it's weird because it is shorter. It's 134. And that's, I think, with the extended endings. So it's probably under 90 minutes if you watch just the one ending. I
mean, it just goes to show that the literal length of the movie, that's not really the concern. Like, I can watch all, 4.5 hours of Return of the King extended edition and not be bored a single moment.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie, I was ready to call it quits a half hour in.
I mean, we just previously, last week, watched Out of Africa, which was verging on 3 hours. And I did mention that it was a little long, but it didn't feel like as long as watching Clue, and it's half the time. So
3 hours with not a single pratfall.
I know, not one pratfall.
Yeah, they make you work for those 3 hours.
No one explained what was going on to me after watching it either. Like, they didn't go on a safari hunt and then spend 15 minutes talking about the safari hunt. They just went
retelling the entire plot of the film you just watched.
Yeah, you saw the lion, then I saw the lion. And then we went back this way and I went to the tree. We climbed up the tree and then we came over here.
And you got syphilis from your husband.
All right, so one of our shorter episodes, but we will be back next week. Ryan, I got to ask the question. Did you miss this one? I think the answer is
no, I didn't. I didn't really enjoy it much at all. It's not like one of the worst things I've ever seen, but I just... I don't know. It just didn't really work for me. It did not all come together. The sum of the parts was not greater than them.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, man. No. The answer is no. I wanted it to be fun. I'm watching as the cast rolls in. I'm like, oh, Michael McKean's here and Christopher Lloyd's here and this lady that I don't know is here. But I'm like, oh, this is going to be kind of silly and fun and da-da-da. And then it becomes silly and it's just like, what is this? What? And now you're explaining it all to me and now none of it matters because the ending can be anything and it just left a sour taste in my mouth and it's just I didn't like it. So I gotta say, man, 1985. We're gonna do the recap next. Not for what we missed. I feel like we saw it all. I don't know the numbers offhand. We'll have to talk about that next week. But I felt like we saw the good stuff and didn't miss a lot. But
Hey, you never know until you review 10 movies, right?
For sure. So come back next week for our final episode of the season. We're gonna wrap up 1985 the same way we did with 1999. We'll talk about some of the other movies that we missed or possibly missed. We'll do some awards and some rankings, and we'll wrap up the year of Ryan Miller's birth.
40 goddamn years ago.
Yeah, it's nuts that 1985 is 40 years ago. We talk a lot about Back to the Future on this podcast this season because the best movie, easily the best movie of the year. It's crazy to think that 2015 is 10 years ago now. That's bananas to me. Growing up, 2015 was the future. And it's just can you imagine what 2015 is going to be like? That's freaking 10 years in the past, dude. That's bananas. That's crazy. But
yep.
All right. Come back next week as we wrap up the season. Until then, I'm Jesse Munoz.
Ryan Miller.
Come back for the season wrap up, 1985.